Welcome you all. Today, we are not just discussing a war, we are witnessing a global shift in power. As this conflict entered its third week, something unexpected happened. The narrative of quick victory collapsed. The reality on the ground told a different story. Let's begin with the geopolitical picture. Iran did not collapse. Instead, it demonstrated deterrence. Missiles reached deep into strategic zones. Regional bases were no longer safe. And suddenly, the balance of power changed. Gulf states who were aligned began pushing for de-escalation because for the first time they felt vulnerable. Now look at the US-Israel dynamic. There is one constant in US foreign policy. Israel's security is non-negotiable. When Iranian pressure increased, Washington recalculated, not escalation, but containment, because the risk was no longer theoretical. Now comes the critical question. Did the military objectives succeed? The answer is complex. Iran's government remained intact. Its missile capability remained active. And despite bold statements, the ground reality showed resilience. This created a gap between what was said and what actually happened. Now let's move to the economic front. This is where the real shock began. The Strait of Hormuz, a lifeline of global energy, nearly 20% of the world's oil flows through it, and suddenly that artery became unstable. Oil prices surged. Some projections even touched $200 per barrel. Now imagine this. What does it mean for you? For me, for the average person? Inflation, fuel prices, food costs, everything rises. This is where Gulf states panicked, because their entire economic model depends on stability, and that stability was shaken. Now let's talk about global realignment. Every crisis creates winners and losers. Russia benefits from high oil prices. China accelerates its shift toward land-based energy routes. And Europe, facing industrial slowdown and potential recession. But this war is not just military or economic. It is also a war of narratives. On one side, statements of total destruction. On the other, images of continued resistance, missiles still active, production ongoing. This contradiction exposed the limits of propaganda. Now let's bring in public opinion. In the United States, many people are questioning the war. Rising fuel prices, economic pressure, and uncertainty are shaping sentiment. Support exists, but it is not absolute. This brings us to a deeper question. What is democracy? The United States is a representative system. Leaders make decisions, sometimes beyond public opinion, based on strategy, intelligence, and national interest. But when national interest appears to ignore international law, questions arise. Across the world, a perception is growing that rules are applied selectively, that some nations are held accountable while others act freely, and this perception is reshaping global trust. Finally, the diplomatic outcome. The United States is not alone, but it is no longer unquestioned. Alliances are strained, confidence is shifting, and the global order is evolving. This is not just a war. This is a turning point, a moment where power, economics, and perception are all being rewritten. Stay with me, because what comes next may define the next decade.